Okay, you're rolling. So today is our first session, and as I've mentioned to you, we're going to record the first 30 minutes of our session as part of my requirements in my master's. All right, so we already had our pre-assessment, and based on our pre-assessment, we were able to uncover the things that we need to improve on in our sessions. So we need to polish your grammar.
Okay.
And the good thing is, I'm not really teaching you things that you're not aware of. I'm just reminding you of things that you already know, but I just have to remind you of them because you may have overlooked some. We've been studying English for the longest time, right? So in this session, we will cover the most salient grammar topics that we need to work on, okay? So these are the objectives: review the fundamental grammar topics, those that we have identified that you have to really work on, and ensure comprehensibility through language accuracy. So we're going to have conversations, like what I've said at the end of the program. Towards the end of the program, we're going to have conversations, and from our conversations, I can judge whether we are improving. Okay? And of course, we'll also have a final assessment. In the pre-assessment, we have that verbal assessment, and it gave you a score using the CEFR. We're going to do it again. We're going to have another recording after 10 sessions. Okay. Cool. So let us begin. Something to ponder on first as our introduction. Could you read the statement here, please?
Good grammar is like personal hygiene. You can ignore it if you want, but don't be surprised when people draw their conclusions.
Okay. So what do you make of it? Now think about it first. I'm just going to check the angle. Still good? Okay. Alright. So what can you say about it? It's like personal hygiene. You can't ignore it, but people will draw their conclusions. So what do you think?
Even if you study or practice on your grammar, it's still people have their comments.
Okay. People will always have their comments, and it's something that you really have to demonstrate, your mastery of grammar, because you know how judgmental people are, right?
Yes.
We live in a judgmental society. You just have to accept that fact. And even if you're very intelligent, sometimes they equate good English to intelligence. So they will draw their conclusions. You can ignore it. People will say that, hey, it doesn't matter. I'm smart. I know what I'm doing. Even if my grammar is not good, I don't care. But even if you ignore it, even if you feel that it doesn't matter, people will still draw their conclusions, and they may not want to deal with you. They may not take you seriously if your grammar is not good. I think it's really a fact of life, right?
Yes.
So we will avoid that one. You are a consummate professional. You're going to deal with people more. So we got to show them that you also have the language facility. So let's go back to basics. Language is a system of arbitrary symbols used for human communication. So system, meaning it has a set of rules. It's governed by a set of rules. And you call the set of rules grammar. And without the set of rules, it's going to be chaotic, right? That's why it's important for us to review the grammar rules. Notice that the definition includes human communication, because they've done a lot of studies, and it's still not possible for animals to use language. They can communicate with each other, but they don't have the system that we're talking about. When we say system, we have the sound system, phonology, we have the grammar system, we have the semantic system, the morphology system. So a lot of systems embedded within each other, and then you have the totality, which is grammar. And a lot of people shy away from grammar because it's just boring, meaning you have to keep on reviewing over and over. You change the rules over time, right? I don't know, personally, you find grammar a little boring? Do you think?
No, it's
Oh,
interesting.
you don't?
Actually.
Oh, very good. All right. Compared to most people, right? They would just say, I hate grammar because you have to memorize a lot of rules, and these rules change anyway. So at least you have the proper mindset for it. Okay, so it's a little bit of fun here. These signs were taken from a website called English.com. You know, these grammar lapses found on street signs will show you how important grammar is. Look at this. It's fine, it's fine to litter without a D. Violators will be fine. You all know that we know that this should be fine. Racist park, you know. You don't want a park full of racists. Keep your chair, keep your own position, and keep table cleaned after dying. Thanks for your cooperation. You know, in Japan, they're not very particular about that. They just put up signs, even if they're not certain if the grammar is accurate or not. So you will find a lot of grammar mistakes.
It's a direct translation.
Yeah, direct translation. Very good. Very good. We're gonna get into that later on. Don't touch yourself. Let us help you try out. There's a negative connotation there. Okay, so we both know how important grammar is, but let's talk about the two schools of thought, right? You have 5 sentences here. And tell me whether the sentence is grammatically correct or incorrect, okay? First one.
2 coffees.
Correct or
It's
incorrect?
correct.
Correct, okay. Next one.
He ain't worth it.
Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Correct, okay. Next one.
Love that don't cost a thing.
Correct or
Correct.
Correct, okay. Next one.
If I was a bird.
Correct or incorrect?
No.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
Okay. And the next one.
Me and my dad went fishing.
All right.
Correct.
Okay, okay. Actually, all of your answers are correct because it shows the kind of perspective that you have. Each of the sentences here can either be correct or incorrect, depending on your school of thought.
Okay.
If you're going to look at these sentences from a descriptive point of view, all of them are correct. But from a prescriptive point of view, these are all incorrect. All incorrect because they're not subscribing to the prescribed set of rules. First one, 2 coffees, right? Technically speaking, this one is incorrect because you can't count coffee and you can't pluralize coffee.
Okay.
So you should say 2
2
cups of coffee.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that it's wrong. I mean, in real life, you can say 2 coffees or, for example, 2 beers, right? Even without the quantifier. So, strictly speaking, it's incorrect, but that's how you hear people use it, right? That's how people use it. So you don't want to say it's wrong entirely, but from a prescriptive point of view, it is incorrect. He ain't worth it. Prescriptively incorrect because it should be he is not,
Okay.
right? He is not worth it. So we also had a descriptive point of view earlier. Love don't cost a thing. You said that it's correct because you heard that from a song, perhaps,
Yes.
right? Right, J-Lo. But technically speaking, it should be doesn't. Love doesn't cost a thing because this one is in the third person singular, right?
Okay.
You said incorrect here.
Yes.
Good. Prescriptively, that's right. You got the right answer. You said incorrect because this should be if I were a bird. Okay. It's in the subjunctive mood, so this requires were. And me and my dad went fishing. You said correct, but technically speaking, it's incorrect because it should be my dad and I.
Okay.
Subject position, right? Because if you remove this, you can't say me went fishing, right? But that's what you hear. You know, when people converse. Me and my dad went ice fishing when I was young, and people don't really go out of their way to correct you. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the 2 schools of thought. You have prescriptive grammar and descriptive grammar. Oops, sorry. So as I've mentioned, for prescriptive grammar, this one specifies what's right and what's wrong. It's really strictly based on rules. It's either you're right or you're wrong. And if you're a teacher, then you mainly use prescriptive grammar. You are like a slave to the grammar book, so to speak. Descriptive grammar, on the other hand, we focus on how people actually use the language. That's how you hear people say it, right? And it doesn't really focus on correctness because your intention is to describe or to imitate how people around you use it. That's why you said love don't cost a thing, is correct,
Correct,
because
yeah.
that's a song, right? That's the title of the song,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't make you wrong when you say it's correct because that's how people use it. Actually, a lot of African Americans violate that particular rule in subject verb agreement.
Mm-hmm.
They don't follow the third person singular. They would say, "No, it don't matter to me." Like that song, "Love Don't Cost a Thing." Uh, it don't mean much,
Okay.
or he don't matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen that in the movies, but when they talk, they really don't use doesn't. They just use don't every
Don't.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And for some, it wouldn't say you were, and just say you wasn't. Everything is just were. You wasn't there for me. But descriptively, that's acceptable. Prescriptively, that is unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So quickly, some examples here. Prescriptively, the word is inflammable. You're familiar with this word,
Yes.
of course. It means if you are a chemist,
Mm-hmm.
so capable of being burned, right? But what do you see on trucks?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I actually have not seen inflammable on any truck,
Mm-hmm.
because what happened was, technically speaking, it should be inflammable. This one is a dictionary word,
Mm-hmm.
but owners of gas and oil companies felt that it might be misinterpreted by people if they see inflammable because of the prefix in.
In.
They might think that, oh, it cannot be burned because of in. Like
Mm.
when you look at it, the other words like insincere, right? In will negate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a negative prefix. So they just dropped it and they're using flammable now. And this one is accepted. Normally when you say all right, yeah, the correct way of writing it is to separate the two words, all and right, all right. But how do we text? How do we send emails? All right, you combine them. You might be surprised that the correct version is actually I am taller than she. Because it's
Than
I'm
her.
taller than she is. But what do you hear? I am taller than her. Yeah? So I just wanted to present two schools of thought so that you'd be aware that you have two factors to consider. If you want to be very technical, then you're leaning towards a prescriptive school of thought. But if you want to be observant on how people use it, then it's descriptive. But I don't want you to think that if you hear it, that's how you hear people say it. It's automatically correct, you know? It has to be widely used by people before it can, achieve some level of, yes, because before it can be accepted, it has to be substantial, let's say a particular group would always use it, then it's going to gain some degree of acceptance in the realm of English speaking. In other words, you also have, to give you another example, you have Philippinisms. Right? Socially accepted here, but prescriptively not accepted, right?
Okay.
Universally not accepted, but descriptively accepted here in the Philippines. The word salvage, what does that mean, salvage?
Killing.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting that you mentioned that because it's only in the Philippines where you use salvage to mean kill. But when you check the dictionary, salvage really means save from destruction, save property from destruction. Right? They were able to salvage the boat after the wreck, right? But here, for some reason, during the martial law, right, during the time of Marcus, this was defined as killing or eliminating.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my British co-trainers saying, "Really, in the Philippines, you use salvage to mean kill? That's absurd, really." Well, they cannot question it because when you say salvage here in the Philippines, you'd understand, right? But if you mention that to a native speaker, then it's going to be very, very weird for them. Come again. Normally, when you say come again, you say it again, right?
Yes.
But for native speakers, it's unnatural. It's better for you to say that again, or could you repeat that, please? Yeah, come again. Here in the Philippines, is very commonly used, right?
Yes.
Come again, meaning you want people to say it one more.
Repeatedly.
You want the person you're talking to say it one more time, but not for native speakers. I mean, for them, most of them, would have you say it again, or can you repeat that, please? Okay. Could I put you on hold for a while? You know, for a while. Normally, when you go to restaurants, right? They say, for a while, ma'am, for a while, sir. But for a while is a very long time. You know, while means a long time.
Okay.
That's another Philippinism. You'd rather be specific with the time frame. So let's use the exact time.
For a minute, for example.
Yeah, could I put you on hold for a minute? At least an estimated time. Because for a while, they're gonna really find it weird if you tell them for a while. So while is such a long time. All right, another example: traffic. Normally, that's a common excuse given by latecomers, right? So why are you late? Traffic, sir. Traffic, boss. But you gotta describe the traffic flow because traffic means flow of vehicles, right? You were caught in heavy traffic. So that's a prescriptive way of using the word traffic.
Okay.
Heavy traffic. All right, fall in line. See this native speaker making fun of the sign. Please fall in line. That's what you see in the malls, right?
Yes.
But it should be wait in line or stand in line, prescriptively speaking. So you don't fall in line. I mean, that's the image you're gonna conjure when you say fall in line. Fall in line, right? People falling, but you wait in line or you stand in line. But when you go to the banks, right? When you go to BDO, you see fall in line, and people won't find it weird.
Yes.
Right, but this native speaker, see, is even acting it out, falling in line. Okay, so what I'm saying is, Philippinism falls under descriptive grammar, where you're describing how Filipino English speakers are using the English language. So you can't tag it as entirely wrong. Prescriptively, it's wrong because you don't find it in the rule book, but it's understood here when you use it here in our society. Okay, clear so far?
Yes.
The difference between the two. Anyway, that's just a brief discussion. Now let's move
Can I
on.
add something about
Yes, please.
descriptive?
Please, yeah.
One of the Philippinism that I also experienced is the word take out.
Oh yeah, yeah. Very good, very
To
good.
some they said, what's the proper term there?
To go.
To go.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's why when you go to Starbucks, it'd say, for here to go.
Uh-huh.
Right. For here, meaning you're gonna eat there. To go, meaning you're gonna bring the food out. But when you go to Jollibee or any fast food,
Take out.
take out, dine in or take out. And that's one of the first things that foreigners would notice. Take out, the use of the phrase take out. Very good observation. Right. Well, obviously Starbucks is an international company, so the way they train, the way they practice, the way they train their baristas, would say to go or for here. All right. Now to the heart of the matter, verb tenses. Now, in our pre-assessment, I noticed that most of the things that we need to work on are connected to verb tenses.
Okay.
Now, verb tenses are very important because, they describe the temporal relationships of the actions within your discourse or within your statements. Actually, when you're learning a new language, you need to learn verb tenses first. Because when you express yourself, normally when you express yourself, your statements would include actions, right? So we need to review the verb tenses. And one of the main reasons why a lot of Filipinos are having difficulty with verb tenses is the fact that they're not congruent in terms of number. In the in Filipino grammar, how many tenses are there?
Is it the
How
three?
many? Three, normally
Yeah.
three, right?
The present.
Past, present, and
Yeah.
future. And I think it's pang nagdaan, pang kasalukuyan, and pang hinaharap, right? But in the English language, the babies are... Sorry, it's part of the recording. Baby passed by. Anyway, looks like they're gonna hear mass. All right. We have 12 verb tenses. You get 3 main verb tenses, but if we multiply that by 4, you're going to have 12. Right? These are the different families of verb tenses. Simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous family. it might be a lot to digest at this point, but don't worry about it.
Okay.
We will just focus on the ones that are commonly used. Okay? So 4 times 3, like what I've said, equals 12. So we have each family here, each family has 3 members.
Okay.
Simple past, simple present, simple future. Present continuous, past continuous, future continuous, past perfect, present perfect, future perfect. Past perfect, continuous, present perfect, continuous, future perfect, continuous. Thus you have 12. But again, in everyday discourse, you only need around 8. You need to master around 7 to 8 to have meaningful conversations.
Okay.
So you don't need to master all of them. Would be good to master all of them eventually, but let's just focus on the most commonly used ones. Need water or something? You okay?
I'm
Okay,
okay,
good.
thank you.
All right. Don't worry, I'm going to give you a copy of this so you don't
Okay.
have to write down everything. As I flash it, we'll just discuss it one by one, okay? So let's talk about the simple tenses first. All right? Based on this one, based on this sentence, simple present. I study English every day. When do we use the simple present tense?
Just stating what's the current event.
Current event?
Yeah.
Current event, good. You're talking about habits or routines,
Okay.
right? These things regularly occur, regularly happen. That's why you have the adverb every day. You know, I study English every day. I go to work from Monday to Friday, right? I go to church every Sunday. Santa comes once a year.
Okay.
Anything that regularly occurs, you use a simple present form, and that's just the base form of your verb. Right? You remember the form, of course, the base form. Unless it's the third person singular, of course, then you drop it and you drop the y, and then you have ies. You add s or es, or if it ends with a y, then you you change it with an I and an es. You
Yes.
remember that, of course, yeah. So can you give me examples of things that you regularly do? Doesn't have to be every day. It could be every month, every year, every week.
Go to church every week.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, good. What about you and JB? What do you do regularly?
We cook daily.
Daily.
Yeah.
Interesting. The two of you. Right? So we cook daily. Very good. So we don't want to spend too much time here because it's basic. But you also use a simple present when you talk about facts, right? I mean, you're a science person, so what are examples of facts? Scientific facts that cannot be bent, like they're always true.
That what
Yeah, go on, carry on.
water and oil can be mixed. Just need a certain temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you're using the modal can there, which is fine. That's grammatically correct. But you're able to mix water and oil when you reach this temperature. Right, there you
Yes.
go. See, you are able to mix water and oil when you reach this temperature. So I'm using the present form because that's always true. It will never change. That's why when you say I love you to JB, you know that it's perpetual. You know that it's always true. You never say I am loving you. You know, it's I love you. It's a verb of emotion or feeling because it's always true. Okay. What else? Water freezes when it reaches this temperature, right?
Yeah.
So
I've heard zero Fahrenheit.
when it reaches 0 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So see, an example of fact cannot be bent. It will always be true. So that's why I use a simple present. All right. So